What's up, guys? Dealing with knee injuries is a large part of my job as a strength coach, and especially dealing with female athletes. Female athletes actually have a greater risk of ACL strain and full tear. So when training these athletes, we got to be very particular with our strategies as to how we're going to keep them healthy and also reach their performance goals. So there are two broad categories as to why females are at a greater risk of ACL tear. One is the physical differences, generally speaking, of course. Women have a greater Q angle. That means the hips are wider with relation to the knee. So this means when they land or plant or cut aggressively, they're at a greater risk of knee valgus or internal rotation at the knee and or the hip, which is pretty much a really bad position for the ACL, not to mention the other tendons and cartilage of the knee. Now the physical traits, so the qualities that we see when they move, one is women are obviously more flexible, so they can access a larger range of motion passively, but where we find a lot more mobility that way, or flexibility, is we tend to find a lack of stability. So greater emphasis on stability and balance, generally speaking, is a great place to start. Lastly is women tend to land and run a little bit more upright, which could still be related back to that range of motion, that natural range of motion that they have. So when they land or cut in that upright position, we get a lot more quad dominance, and sometimes we lack some strength of the hip and definitely the hamstrings. So in relation to training, we attack those knees right away. Obviously, if they're healthy, we want to make sure they're really strong at the quad. They can control eccentrically and isometrically knee extension, and we don't fall into any hyperextension. And obviously, we look a little more proximal at the hip, that they can control the knee when they land or when they cut. And obviously, posterior chain is of the utmost importance because you have to be strong at the hamstrings. And some surgeons have even mentioned women tend to be a little weaker in the hamstring. And the foot is a little bit more complicated. I won't get into that today, but those are some simple things we got to look at when we're dealing with the female athlete. Thanks, guys.